Boom, and there we are live. Hello, everyone. I am Paul Wizzo, and welcome to Wizzo Talk. I'm going to do my little intro, and we still waiting on two more people to come in, and then we're going to get this thing rolling. I'm Paul Wizzo. I'd like to thank all my supporters and subscribers. If you'd like to subscribe to my channel, a little feedback somewhere. If you'd like to subscribe to my YouTube channel, the link is in the description. Just make sure you hit that notification bell so that you can stay up to date. And I don't know who feedback that was right there, but the link is in the description. If you like to subscribe to my channel, make sure you hit that notification bell to stay up to date because I'll post according to my guest availability instead of regular fixed schedule. Remember that it's absolutely free, 100% free to like, share, and subscribe. I appreciate your support. I'm always on the lookout for guests. So if you'd like to be a guest on Wizard Talk, please reach out to me. Let me let. If you'd like to be a guest on Wizard Talk, send me a message, a pigeon, or whatever you have to do to get me the message. Getting a little feedback. I'm not sure who it might be from, so you might maybe mute or cut your volume down or adjust it. Um, Also, I included the link in the description for Wizzo Talk merch. If you'd like to check out some of my merch, check us back on the 17th and the 25th. We have a couple other hot topics coming up to round out this podcast. Those are your announcements. Take due notice thereof and govern yourselves accordingly. We're going to meet our guests and we're going to get this thing popping. Y'all, I don't know why I always say take due notice thereof and govern yourself accordingly. I just kind of like saying that. So anyway, we're going to go around the room and we're going to meet our guests and we're going to start with Miss Field to do her intro. And come on with it, Miss Field.
Hello, I'm Philnette Harrison, and I am an 18-year veteran of the Texas Public School education system and a fitness enthusiast.
All right. Miss Brandy, come on with it.
Hello, everyone. Can't see the video, but I'm here. I am a 14-year educator in the local school district, and I am a 4 years co-host partner with Paul. Every time he needs me, I come on. So I enjoy being here. I look forward to the conversation this evening. And yeah.
All right. Miss Chaz. You hear me, Chaz? Yeah. Okay, Miss Gina, go ahead. I don't know if Chaz can hear me.
Okay. Well, hello, everybody. I'm Eugenia Solomon. This is my first time on a podcast. I am an 8-year teacher. I'm an instructional aide actually with University of Texas Charter School System. And also I'm from New Orleans, Louisiana, so I'm not a Texas native, but I currently do reside in DFW.
All right. That'll work. Miss Chaz, can you hear me? Chaz. I don't know if she done froze up or what. I don't know. Chaz. Can you hear me? I think she may have froze. I don't know. But she gonna have to come back to it. I had to send her a message or something. Before we get ready to go on, Phil, you didn't mention. I know you didn't mention that. Y'all, excuse me, because I've been sidetracked from trying to see if she's on here. But about your what is it? Your competition in medals as a teacher and a bodybuilder. You still bodybuilding?
Yes, I plan on getting back on stage this year.
Okay, all right, that'll work. Okay, well, y'all, what we're gonna do is here. I'm gonna thank every one of y'all for coming on and taking your time out. And we're not gonna be long. It depends on your answers and your reply and everything like that. And I know one of you have to leave to go dance because I've danced with 3 of you ladies already, and Chad's got to leave to go shake her leg. Let me see if she's trying to get back on, y'all, because I hate her. She may come back. But anyway, so let me go ahead. I'm going to read my first question. I was trying to pause for a second to give her a second to come back on because she had froze up. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to read off my questions, and then ask you guys the questions, and then we'll work the room, and you go accordingly how you answer. So, um, where we go? Texas high high school football coaches talking about their salary that they're paid in the six figures. And I didn't write the school names down, and then I come with my question behind this. I have one at 179,000, 150, 154, 140,000. Schools are spending 60 million, 70 million, 80 million, 89 million, and one school 175.8 million on football stadiums. According to my research, teachers are ranked in Texas, ranked 15th nationally for their first year, 41st national for experienced teachers, and this was in since 2023. So, what my first question to you guys, well, to you ladies, would be, why do you think teachers are paid way less than football coaches, and do you feel that more attention is and resources are given to football than educating students? So I like to start with that, and then we'll work our way around. So anyone want to jump on that question first? Those were two questions.
Okay, so the first question is, why is sports given more attention than education? And the second question was,
Right. Well, they're just like that. Why do you think teachers are paid less than high school football coaches? And then another one, do you think more attention is given to more attention and resources given to football than educating students?
okay, so I got two perspectives, one from the parent side and then one from the educator side.
Okay.
So when it comes to, for me, when it comes to, we'll just go with high school football. Okay. Usually the high school football coach is also the head coach is also the athletic director for the campus. So in that aspect, I would see, that he makes more money. Some football coaches or head coaches make in the six figures. And I mean, it's a thing. If you've ever run a program, a sports program, especially at the high school level, it's a daunting task, not only because, you're responsible for the high school, but you're also responsible for whatever feeder middle schools are coming into your high school. So you have a duty to go to those different campuses as well. If more resources or allocations are given to sports versus the classroom, as a parent in this district that I'm in for the past, long time, over 12 years, I've had two football players to graduate, and they have to fundraise. Okay. So like the pot is divvied up over athletics in various ways. Some sports get more money than other sports, but like in terms of football, they have to fundraise. Anything extra that they want, they
Right.
fundraise for that. So I don't know if, and then in the classroom, we can't fundraise. Like in public education, we can't fundraise. We can't crowdfund. We can't GoFundMe. We can't do any of that
Can't
in
do any of
order
that.
to get funds into the classroom. So that there in itself is a struggle. We are held to, whatever the district allocates for the school, and then the school has certain things that they have to do with the money before it goes to the classroom teacher. So there's so many different things to say, and like one thing doesn't really correlate with the other. It's like apples to oranges in this situation for me.
Okay. Okay. Anybody else got a comment on any of that?
Well, I guess I'll chime in with regards to teachers getting paid less than sports coaches or anything dealing with sports. Honestly, I think that the money should be allocated a little differently, because just working in a classroom setting is, I mean, as we know, definitely it's not easy at all, especially in this day and age. Things have transformed tremendously over the years, and therefore, I know it's always something we hear about all the time. Teachers need to get paid more. So I think there needs to be some type of due diligence there along the way. Somebody needs to sit down on the other end of things and figure this thing out financially. How can we actually, because everybody's working hard on every level, even in the classroom versus sports or what have you. We're all doing the same thing basically, maybe at different magnitudes, but basically we all have the same agenda. So but with regards to or sports given more attention. So I don't work in a school setting where we actually have sports or athletics. I do work in a more specialized school setting, so we don't have those opportunities. But so I'm gonna just say on my end, of course, that's not the case. But I know in many larger districts, sometimes they do tend to kind of emphasize sports more than they do the actual academics. So it just depends on the school in the school district for the most part, I would believe.
Right. Okay. Let me see. Phil, you have something on that?
On the outside looking in, as far as the sports part is concerned, like for just my understanding, the school can seek out vendors that support the school. And so because it takes a lot of money to keep a stadium open and to be able to house all the people that come for the school, to the sports events. And so they sometimes the school districts do allow for partnerships with community businesses. And so sometimes they are allowed to have vendors that support, and sponsors. I say vendors, but they're sponsors that help out. um, from our little old elementary school perspective, we have our PTO or PTA, and we are allowed to do some fundraising because, as you know, the state doesn't give us um, the money that we need per capita per student, like they're wanting to do for the private and the charter schools. That's a big fight that we're going through now on the state level, is that they want to take money from the school districts, the public school districts, and divvy them out to private and charter schools, but not give them the same rigor that they put the public schools under. Um, Hence the state assessments, because private schools they don't have to take the state assessment. So they like I'm not sure exactly what the numbers are right now, but like for school per student, it's something like, I'll say, like, let's say it's just a round number. Let's say it's $1,000 per public school student that we get from the state, but the state wants to take public school dollars and give 10,000 per student to the private school. And that's what we're under. That's the fight that we're under now. It is extremely unfair to take tax dollars and give them to private schools, but then tell the private schools that they don't have to do what public schools do. Private schools have to be selective, and public schools have to take everybody. It doesn't matter if you don't speak English and you're from Venezuela, like some of our other babies that come, or because a private school can say, no, we're not taking you. So that's part of the fight for classroom teachers. Like, we are put under a lot of stress, and we are told to make miracles happen with absolutely nothing. And we do it every day. We go in there for all the kids every day, and we do what we have to do. But as far as sports is concerned, it's a little more public, you know. No, you don't get to see a kid struggle with dyslexia and struggling to read, versus that same student go out on the football field and they get a touchdown. More people see that part.
Right.
So it's just a different I like the way she was saying it's apples to oranges. we each have our part. We're each a puzzle piece in the education system, but we are seen by the state in different ways. And as long as you are bringing in money and people spending money on tickets, giving it to the school district, that is an investment in the education process. So it's just all different.
Right.
I'm not a coach. I would like to be one in the future. I am studying right now to become a Texas State certified teacher so that I can teach PE. Um, but am looking to go to the high school and help with the coaching staff, like be a conditioning coach.
Okay.
So that is something that I'm looking for in the future. I love teaching music. I've been doing it 18 years, but I kind of want to see what else education has to offer.
Right.
So, I mean, I've been in there with the babies trying to learn how to read, trying to do their math and struggling to, with their vocabulary and all of that stuff. And then I see them triumph when they are in band and orchestra and they, create art and they're in theater and all of that. So it's just a different aspect. Like I said, we're all pieces of the education puzzle. We just have our own different functions.
Okay. I'm gonna let Miss Chaz. Can you hear us now?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yay, you're back.
Okay.
Yeah, I
It's a
had a
little.
few
It,
technical difficulties, but
yeah.
I'm here
It's
now.
it's a little bit of a delay with you, but go ahead and just introduce yourself to everyone that so they can see you and get to know you.
Okay, so I'm Chaz, and I currently work in the Human Resources Department of a local school district. I also have two sons, both that have played sports. So I'm very familiar with education because I've worked in different aspects of education outside of human resources. But so I do know the money part, the employment part, the requirements. So.
Right. Okay. All right. Great. So I heard Brandy, where you was talking about how the head coach wears different hats by being the AD, and so that'll probably maybe justify his pay scale as being into the six figures. But before, if you may comment on there, I'm saying that you guys heard me I read the numbers is 70, 80, 90 million spent on football stadiums, and coaches are getting paid six figures. But I see on the news sometime, and I'm sure you guys, I mean, you ladies can maybe agree with this, but I've seen teachers having this come out their own pocket to buy supplies and buy this for their class and buy that for the class. But we can spend 80 or 90 million dollars on a football stadium. So my thing is, Brandon, do you think that's why? I mean, because he wearing the two hats, but I still don't understand how so much money can be allocated to football. And I know there's other sports, but y'all know down here in Texas, it's strictly football. So what do you think on that, Brent?
Well, football is big in Texas, and definitely in the district in which I am in. Uh, Justification for spending that amount of money on a stadium to keep our stadiums up to par in the what is it called? Not district, but the class that we're in, playing against those that we play in. I guess maybe that's their justification. Uh, as a classroom teacher, I came out of pocket a lot because, like my friend said, the allocation for dollars are going elsewhere. Okay. The allocation for classroom dollars, they're not going to sports. However, they aren't coming, with the student themselves. Uh, right now, like she said, at the state level, there's a, you know, legislation going through where, yes, they're trying to allocate $10,000 to, private schools, but for us, we're getting 3,600 per kid. Okay, which is a far cry jump when we're doing 504 and we're doing SPED, and we're having to provide free lunches, and we get all the kids, not just specific kids, but we get all the kids. Whereas in the private school sector, they get to pick and choose. And then when that kid is kicked out and they have to go to public school, that money don't come with them, you know? So then the teacher is, you know, she's budgeted for 25 kids. However, she's given 40. So where do we pay for the other 15 kids? Right. So like I get it, but then I don't get it. We've harped a lot within my own district when I was a classroom teacher and in the position that I'm in now. Like, we try to do our best so that teachers don't have to come out of their pocket for things like, you know, science experiments in the classroom and things like that. Just making sure that we have the funds at the campus level in order for, you know, the teachers to avoid having to come out of their pocket. In my district, they have given each teacher like $200 onto their September paycheck to kind of offset the beginning of the year monies. But what about in January, you know, when we come back and a whole different set of kids come back along with the regular kids that we had? So where's the justification? We don't know.
Right. Okay, I got you. So what I'm kind of hearing is a little bit, y'all might not be in favor of that school choice that Abbott is pushing right here in Texas.
Not
Oh,
it.
absolutely not. The charter, no, because it's taking taxpayer dollars that would go to public school, and it gives it to private schools for the same students.
Right.
So I just looked it up. It's $6,160 that Texas has allocated for every student, but they want to add nearly 4,000 or more dollars to give that same that same money. All of a sudden they have $4,000 per kid to give to charter schools or to have that school voucher. But our cry, as you know, Texas public school teachers are, is like, why can't you just give that to the public school kids? Why is it that all of a sudden you have the money for the private schools, but you don't have it for public school? And it's not fair that you're taking the tax dollars of people that are paying for their kids to go to a public school and giving it to private school, when private school is a choice, but public school isn't. It is there for everybody. So that's what the fight is right now. But you know, it it takes you know more than one person to be able to speak up and say, hey, this is wrong.
Right.
Like, they don't have to take the same, as she was saying before, saying that they don't have to take the students that we take. They don't have to do the same assessments that we do. And you know it, and they don't have to do the paperwork that we do.
Right.
So
Okay. Anybody else have anything on that school choice issue? No. Okay. All right. All right. Well, appreciate that input on that. Now, I know me, I definitely wouldn't want my money going to no private school taxpayers' money, but I mean, I don't know the whole in depth of it, but you've educated me a lot more on it now. And you guys, I just draw your attention over. If you can see the comments, you can comment on some of them if you like. If not, it's totally up to you. Welcome, Mark and Chris and Rice, and I appreciate y'all checking us out. We have about 7 people right now on YouTube viewing this, so I appreciate y'all checking it out. So then I'll move on to my next question right here that I have, and it's do you think teachers should pass student athletes who aren't completing their work in school? Now I know this happens a lot, and I mean y'all might know better than I do, but I'm asking, do you think they should? I'm not gonna ask you if you have, or whatever. But I know a kid, he went somewhere in Killeen. I can't remember. This was probably about 5 or 6 years ago. It was on the cover of magazines and all that stuff, and a big old giant, and did not make it past. I mean, he had to go to JUCO, which is not bad, I guess, But I mean, he wasn't at all. So, and then let me ask you this: on that same lines of that, you know, who fault is that? Is that the blame of the parent? Is that the blame of the teachers? Is that the blame of the head coach for not following up on that kid? That so asking you guys, do you think a teacher should pass a kid who's not completing their work?
I would say absolutely not. Absolutely not. I mean, for various reasons, but obviously, the biggest reason is if other students, whether they're athletes or whatever, have to do the same components of work, and they have to put the same effort and energy into what they're doing on a daily basis to get those good grades and to get the academic scholarships. I mean, the same should go with athletic scholarships. The academic aspect should go hand in hand with that. So you might have somebody who's an excellent ball player, but at the end of the day, what do they have knowledge wise? What are they bringing with them to the next level in life? So definitely not.
So not passing that kid from not completing his work. So the coach come over and talk to you. This is star quarterback. He like, come on now. I need this kid for this game. So I need you to make sure, because I think, and I don't know, y'all correct me if I'm wrong. I've been out for a couple of days of school. If they still have the no pass, no play, I don't know. But the coach come over and talk to you. He need this kid. It is for any of you. I need this kid. I need him to pass so
Yeah,
he can play.
to my knowledge, no pass, no play is still in effect. On the elementary level, it's not implemented because they're elementary. Um, but for middle school and high school, I mean, when I was in high school, no pass, no play was in effect. So I had to make sure that my grades were up if I was going to participate in UIL events. That because I mean, we have it for music too, and if I didn't pass, I couldn't compete. So I it's unfortunate that there is so much stress on student athletes. I was not a student athlete, but
Right.
I understand that there is a lot of stress, but it is about balance because it is about choices. And if you're going to be a student athlete, you have to do both the physical and the academic part of, because that's your job. You chose this as your route, just like someone that is, an academic scholar. They have to sit and they have to study in order to get the scholarships in order to do that. So, it is a community. It is about the adults being in that person's life. Sure, we want them to have stardom, but at the same time we want them to have something to fall back on because you're one torn ACL away from not having a career.
Yeah.
So you it should be instilled in that student athlete to make sure that their studies are up to par. Not saying you have to be a straight A student, but make sure that you're passing. So that way there is no question about you being a success because you are a student athlete. You are a student first.
Right.
And so I think that um I mean it is a community. It takes everybody to make sure that child is successful. It should be that way for every child, but definitely for someone that is in the spotlight who is under a bunch of pressure if they are excelling in athletic their athletic career. But um but I'm sure the student athlete moms that have something to say about that as well, because I don't have any children, but
Right.
I mean I
Okay.
teach.
Well,
So
let's hear it, student athlete mom.
So as a classroom teacher in middle school, because elementary just ain't my cup of tea, but in middle school, if the first time you came to me as a coach was when grades were due, you ain't gonna get nothing from me. Okay.
Right.
exactly.
If you came to me at the beginning of the year and said, hey, these are my athletes that I have in your class, we need to form a partnership and make sure that they, do their grades and work and stuff like that, that's different, right?
Mhm.
Don't come to me when it's a week before grades are due and your player is failing because they gonna fail. All right. As a parent, my kids still to this day, and two of them are in college, they can't stand me because I want to see what your grades look like. Right.
Right.
I have one that goes to community college, and then I have another one who goes to Hardin Simmons and he does track. Right. And I will log in because, as long as I swipe my card, I get your login. Right. So I will log in and I will see like what your grades is looking like, and you, me, and coaches having a conversation, because even at the collegiate level, you need to perform. You need to perform in the classroom, and you need to perform on the field, or in track or whatever you're doing. You need to perform. I used to tell my athletes that were in my class, you are a reflection of me as your teacher. So if you are not performing how you should be, then that's reflected on me as your teacher. It's also reflecting on your coach because you're not doing your part, right? As a teacher, you know, you can do a contract with your student athletes, right? You get one grace period from me, okay? If I put a 70 on your paper and you not passing, that was your only grace period that you get with me, okay? Because even in the business world, some professions, you're allowed one grace period. If you mess up again, you're done, right? So I'm going to teach you that as we go along. You get one grace period. If you don't do your part, I can't help you. Okay? That means you need to come to tutoring if you're not understanding. That means that you need to turn in your assignments. That means that you need to be checking your grades as well. And so now to this day, those students come back and I appreciate what you have done, what you taught me, because now I'm not struggling like some of the other players that's on the team, you know? So I just think that the partnership between the teacher and the student, the parent and the teacher, the parent and the coach, all those partnerships need to come into play, because if not, you're failing the student. You're giving them false expectations on what should happen in the classroom.
Okay. All right. Let's hear from the other student athlete mom.
So student athletes are given several opportunities to be successful as a student athlete. Um, in my experience with my sons, they had mandatory tutoring. They can't make them go, but along the way, from the beginning of the school year, they know when UIL checks are, they know what grades they need to have in order to be able to play. And they can't play if they don't make the grade, but they have also, a lot of the teachers will allow students to retake tests or make them up. So it's really not a reason not to do well, because there are so many resources, from tutoring. I don't know, the school district that my kids were in had multiple resources. There was no reason to fail. But I agree with Brandy about, you can't wait to the last minute. But in my experience, if kids, and they were good kids, they were good athletes, but if they didn't have the grades, they could not play. And that carried on to college as well. If they didn't make the grade, they couldn't play. I think the incident that you were talking about, the kid that, because my child was in school with that kid, I think for a long time, a lot of teachers did pass him because he was so good at his sport. But then he came across someone that was not gonna do that again. And it totally changed what could have been a different life for him.
Right.
But so I'm thankful for those that did uphold not letting them play, because you need the education as well.
You're thankful, in other words, kind of like the ones like Brandy. She's saying, if you coming up to me, then no, I have no conversation for you then. So
Right, because if you let them get by, they'll always think that they can, and then they might get to a point where someone says no. So
okay, coming to the stage. Any comment right there?
Well, I know for me, so the environment I currently work in, I work with a lot of at-risk youth, and my students are coming in, substance abuse users, a lot of mental health, or what have you. So I do currently work at a residential treatment facility. So these young men, it's all guys where I work at. They're housed there for anywhere between 30 to 90 days. So they're kind of coming in. Some of them are athletes, some of them are musicians, so some of them, have other talents or what have you. But because they have these other circumstances, part of the issue is that they're coming in because everybody's so used to giving them something on a silver platter. It's like everything's anticipated. I don't have to work hard for it. I don't have to put any effort for it. It's just going to come to me. And then we actually had an incident just today, actually, where we had two gentlemen who just they just knew that everybody was just going to bow down, and we were just going to give in and cave in and say, okay, well, it's going to be y'all's way. And I'm sorry, I'm old school. Like, we're not doing that. You're going to work for what you got to get. So, and it's sad because a lot of the younger people of this current generation, and it's not a lot, it's a lot, but it's not a lot, if that makes any sense. But the kids I've been encountering for the last couple of years now, again, they're coming in from circumstances where a lot of them have money, their parents have money, so they're coming from these privileged situations or what have you, and it's like, I don't have to put any effort in. I don't have to put any work in or whatever. They're so used to Googling, copy and pasting, and
Yeah, right.
Chat GPT now is the thing, and just cheating the system basically. But I always tell them, I mean, you're going to get so far in life to where if you don't have anything under your belt, what are you going to do then? Because you're not going to always have somebody to protect you and shield you from the real world. So.
Exactly. All right, I got you on that. Chaz, it's strange that you know who I'm talking about, who I'm referring to. That's crazy. But I wasn't going to say the school and all that stuff, but I think you know exactly who I'm talking about. So let me ask y'all this, and y'all might can see the comments, like I said, if you might want to entertain one, because this guy right here is saying the problem is illegal immigrants taking resources from citizens.
It has nothing to do with it.
We not gonna entertain that one.
Good, good. So let me ask you this. Yeah, yeah. So, and this comment that I'm reading right here, this is from actually someone that I know that said this, and he said, I'm not teaching my kid anything at home because that's what the teacher's for at school. So I'm not teaching him nothing. So what would
And
let me
that's why we
hold up,
have the
hold up,
behavior
Brandy.
problems that we have is because you not teaching your child nothing at the house. Okay. So when I pick up the phone and I call you because little boo-boo is acting crazy,
Right.
and you decide that you're not gonna answer, let me handle it. Okay. Don't call me and say, why'd you scream at my child? You let me handle it because you're not taking care of it at the house. My bad. I didn't mean
To
cut you.
piggyback off of that, absolutely, because it is what they don't realize is that their child is a reflection of the parent and the parenting that is going on at home. And if you have students that are super privileged at home, they get everything that they want and they don't understand the word no, or they may even have some sort of mental disability like ED, where the parents don't understand how to handle their kids, and so they just don't. And that trickles down when they come to school, they do the same thing, and so I'm sorry, you just can't get up and slap another kid in the face. You're gonna have to get written up and suspended for that. And um I mean, we see it every day, but to have a hands-off approach with your kid there, you wouldn't do that with a dog.
Right.
You wouldn't let your dog just run all over the house and do whatever they want to, tear up everything. So you can't do that with your own child. Why would you? I call it free range parenting. Why would you allow your child just to do whatever? They're not a pet. They are your child who is going to grow up to be a human being and an adult in society, and they will be a reflection of how you have treated and taught or lack thereof.
Okay.
So like when I see my little babies at school, they're losing it. Like you're in the fourth or fifth grade and you got all the attitude in the world, and it's like I'm seeing you at 14. I'm seeing you at in high school. I see you as a 24-year-old in public,
Right.
not getting your way in the grocery store. I see that, and then I see how authorities are going to see you. So my job on the elementary level is to talk to them and teach them. You can't do whatever you want to do, and you are not always going to get your way. Everybody has to abide by certain rules and regulations.
Right.
Are there some that get away with it? Absolutely. But you're not going to get away with it right now because you're in front of me. So
Okay.
to that man, I say, I feel sorry for you, and I definitely feel sorry for your child. And I will be praying for you because you're setting your child up for failure. Because we as educators, we see those children grow up to be adults who did not have a loving home where there was structure. Kids want structure.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
They ache for it. Even if they fight against us, they know what the rules are.
Right.
And so to say, well, it's our job to teach the kids. Yes, it is our job to educate them, but it's your job to make them a good human being. So
Okay.
I just feel sorry for that child, whomever said that comment.
I think that COVID taught parents a lot about their child when it comes to education, because having to deal with your child and keep them focused on whatever it is that they were supposed to do on the computer, if they had to do it on the computer, or if the district sent home packets or whatever be the case, it
Right.
taught parents that, my child ain't doing what they supposed to do at school. Now, did that help us when it was time to come back? It didn't, but it did shed some light on the fight that educators have when the kid is in the classroom. They only had to fight with one. I got teachers right now that's got classrooms of 40,
Mm.
and
40?
in that classroom of 40, 6 of those kids are a part of the behavioral management unit,
Yep.
and the other 34 kids, 10 to 20 of them have accommodations and need additional supports, but there's no aid in the classroom. Okay, so this is what our teachers are fighting, and this is why we're also losing teachers at a rapid rate on a daily basis. Okay, the support of the parent would be things would be a lot different in the classroom if the support of the parent was there. Yes, teachers don't make a lot of money. However, the money that they do make would probably be okay if they didn't have all the extra your child's behaviors to deal with on top of the other stuff that they have to make sure all the boxes are checked and the T's are crossed. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
If you work in a stressful environment 8 hours a day, and then you have to go home and worry about whether I'm gonna pay the lights or I'll put food on the table, that's a problem, right?
Right.
You can only take one stress, not 20 stresses. You see what I'm saying? So
Okay.
I think too, parents need to understand that supporting your child isn't always about the actual homework or, work that they have to do, because they may not understand how to do it or how to actually help the child.
Mhm.
But they need to show that child that they're involved, they're paying attention. I might not be able to help you with your homework, but I can get you some help, or make sure that they're actually doing, even just asking about their day. So it's several ways to be supportive, outside of just, being able to help them with their homework, because we know that not all parents may be able to do that.
Right.
But again, like you said, as far as, managing behavior and things like that, sometimes all it takes is attention, that for
Yeah.
that child to know that you care and you're paying attention and that you want them to do well.
Right.
Pour
Exactly.
into your child. If you pour nothing into your child, that's what they're gonna put out. They're gonna have the attitude of nothing. And it always breaks my heart when I hear the kids, when I say, well, do I need to have a conversation with your parents? I don't care. They don't care.
Yeah.
They don't care. They're not gonna do nothing. And so it's like the kid doesn't even have expectations of the parents being involved at all.
Mhm.
So that's not going to give them any motivation. They're like, I might as well just do what I want to do because there's no consequences
Mhm.
when I go home.
Right.
And it's like, okay, that might work when you're 10, but think about when they're 20.
Mhm.
And that's what we as educators, we're always thinking about a kid's future. I'm trying to set you up to be successful for the next level, and I'm trying to set you up for, to be a good human being. And I tell my kids all the time, there are enough mean people in the world. You don't have to be one. Don't add to the list.
Right.
Make good choices and be nice. I said it takes more strength to be nice to somebody than it is to be rude. Being rude is easy,
Mhm.
but to be nice to somebody is difficult. It takes a level of maturity that you have to dig deep to find. And yes, I do speak to my elementary school students that way. I'm tough. I don't sugarcoat
Yeah.
Mhm.
because all I see is them as teenagers and young adults not making it.
Right.
And just a sidebar, in December, I don't know if y'all heard, here in Houston, there was some students that were running from the police and they got killed. It was a car chase and they got killed. There were students that had gone to the elementary school that I worked at, and the teachers tried. They begged the parents, you need to get your kids some help. They are not going down a good path. Oh no, not my son, not my Johnny.
Right.
Yeah.
5 years later, they're dead. You no longer have a son.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
to that person that wrote, I'm not teaching my kid anything, that's what happens when
Mhm.
you don't pay attention to your child, when you
Right.
don't pour love into your child, when you don't pour responsibility into your child. Not only did he take himself, he took two other kids with him
Mhm.
Mm.
in a car crash. They're dead.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So
And
please
see,
think before you decide that teachers are supposed to do everything. I'm not with your kid 24/7.
Mhm.
yeah.
You're not with your kid 24/7. But when they go home, they go home to you.
Mhm. Right.
So
And
please
see,
consider that.
my question for that guy is, were I guess clarification is what's needed. Are you not teaching him content at home, or are you not teaching him, period? You see what I'm saying?
Right.
Because not teaching content, math, English, history, science, I get that. You may
Mhm.
not know that. That's okay. Are you teaching him how to deal with people outside of the house? I was watching another podcast, and who's two ladies, they're teachers, and she said that parents teach their kids how to deal with them. They don't teach their kids how to deal with others. So when they
Mm,
come, so they're teaching their kids how to operate in the house because I don't want you to stress me out, right? But when you go to school, I ain't teach you how to deal with that teacher. You
Right.
see what I'm saying? You in that classroom causing a ruckus. And then when I call the parent on the phone, they say, no, not Johnny at the house. He's good. Yeah, because you taught him how to deal with you at the house. I need you to teach him how to deal with us at school.
I heard
You know,
that.
so there goes again for me, there's that parent teacher relationship. Like when you see the phone number come across, don't hit decline.
Yep.
Right.
Don't
Yeah.
don't send me the voicemail, okay? Because when that recruiter comes across, you're not trying to decline that. But if the recruiter was to call the teacher and be like, hey, how would you, what would you say about this kid? I'm gonna tell the truth. They don't
Exactly.
turn in their work. They
All
don't know
right.
how to deal with other people. You see what I'm saying?
Mhm.
Mom and dad is gonna tell you that they the best child come this side of Colleen, and they'll be an asset to your team. But
All
as the
right.
teacher, I can't tell you that they're gonna be an asset because every time I ask them to do something, there's pushback. There's let me talk back. There's I'm not doing that. It's too much. It's too hard. You see what I'm saying?
Exactly.
You see.
Miss Dina, you got anything on that?
Actually, I do. Excuse me. Basically, so I've had a lot of students in the past. Where I am now, the school I'm at now, I hear it a lot, but particularly my former school district that I was at, we cater to a lot of credit recovery students. So I had students who were already in their 20s, and some of them already had kids of their own or they were married, but they came from situations where they had dropped out several times prior to deciding, okay, I'm finally going to go ahead and try to reach that finish line. And a lot of them will come to me and say, well, here's the deal. My parents legitimately didn't care. Like, because it blew my mind the amount of students that were dropping out of school. And I'm just like, wait, I'm coming from Louisiana to Texas. I just couldn't believe the dropout rate was so extensive out here. I'm just like, wait a minute. There's a dropout rate obviously everywhere, but coming out here to Texas, I'm just like, what in the world is going on? I mean, you have these beautiful school buildings. And I
Yeah.
tell people, you have the building, it looks magnificent on the outside. What's going on the inside is what's concerning to us as educators. And so I say that to say, I literally had to chase, like physically go and look for my students because they were choosing once again to drop out, or this is too difficult. I'm not trying to do this, but they had to have somebody to advocate for them because unfortunately we do have parents out there who genuinely just do not care. And it's sad. It's sad because it creates monsters, literally. Like it creates those issues that we see every day in the classroom setting. And as was stated earlier, is this guy referring to the academic side of things that he's not teaching his kids, or is he referring to just the general life skills or what have you? Because either way, it still goes hand in hand. I remember my parents. Now, both my parents are educators, but my dad is a music teacher. My mom, she taught elementary sped, but they instilled in us at a young age before we even started pre-kindergarten, hooked on phonics. I know that's
Yeah.
old school, but
Yeah.
they got us ready for school. And then when we came home with the homework and stuff, once we were in school, they helped us with our homework. A lot of these parents now, unfortunately, I mean, they'd rather be on TikTok and scrolling through social media than to actually spend genuine time with their kids doing what they're supposed to be doing in the first place. So, I mean, of course, we're going to do our due diligence. We're going to do our job. Obviously, this is a calling. This is God's work. Like I always tell people, this is hard work. You can't do something like this if it's not genuine. But
Yeah.
we need the support of parents. I mean, I know we hear this all the time, but it's just not going to stop until we start seeing a change.
Right.
Because without that, if a kid goes home and they don't have that support from their parents, it's like, what do we just do for those 8 hours with that child? Because now they're going back to that same environment where you don't have the structure, you don't have older people that's actually genuinely caring for you and nurturing you and trying to guide you in the right direction. So, I mean, I've had kids who have sat up there and told me straight up, my parents introduced me to the drugs. I
God.
smoking
Oh,
marijuana at age 10, 11, 12. They're 14, 15 years old, going to these all-night parties, drinking alcohol, and I'm just like listening to all this stuff, and I'm just like, okay, we got to do better. Something has to change because as teachers, we can't help all of that. That's out of our hands at that point. So, but as stated earlier, once they get into adulthood, I mean, what are you going to do then? You know, that's how come we end up with certain types of people in society. So,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
That is something, and and just to, I mean, you guys, I mean, of course, when I was in school, I didn't really realize it now, but I really wasn't the trouble kid. But I mean, y'all are teachers, educators. I mean, y'all are like the front line right there to where, I mean, you seeing everything. Like you saying, that coach, he just seeing that kid out there, but y'all seeing the one that's slow learning, the one that's being disruptive. Look at the one that I don't remember where it was. Y'all probably know that the lady lost her eye, or something like that. Where the kid,
Oh yeah.
I mean, so you guys are having to deal with that in the classroom like that. Now I know on the football field, the coaches have to deal with certain little things, but y'all in the front line dealing with a whole lot more, and that's why I just don't understand the pay wise because, especially after research how low Texas is on the poll, that I don't know if they realize that, if they see that, they don't care about that. But I get to look at, when I was looking up these numbers, these millions of dollars that's going into these stadiums, but yet you teachers on the front line having to put up with these kids and with parents, because I know that can be a challenge when you're calling a parent up and they don't want to cooperate, they don't want to answer the phone, it's on block, and I think Brandon heard. I think I heard a couple of you mentioned SPED, and I think with that you can't fail a kid or something. They can do whatever they want to in class. I mean,
No,
I
that's
just
not
want
what SPED means.
what is
Yeah,
SPED?
they're still held to a standard.
Okay.
As an educator, you have to hold all your students to a standard. Okay.
Absolutely.
And if you don't hold your student to a standard, then you have an uphill battle. Okay. Does it, can a sped student fail? Absolutely. If they're not doing their work, they can fail. However, so many provisions are put into place in order to provide them assistance to avoid them failing, right? But it's still on the earnest of the child and the parents to do what they're supposed to do, you know. In order to fail a sped student, your documentation has to be impeccable. Okay.
Okay.
You have to follow their IEP or individual education plan to the T, to the letter. Okay. If you have followed it to the T, to the letter, and you've crossed all your T's and dotted your I's, then you have the proof that this student did not do their part. You know what I'm saying? Um, and that should go for all your students, whether they're SPED or whether they're general education. That's the expectation that you should have on your students, including your athletes, especially your athletes, because a lot of times they're just looked at as athletes and they're not looked at as student athletes. Um, Educators and parents have to get the students to the players to understand you're a student first.
Mhm.
If you can't be a student, you can't be an athlete, you know. And parents are jaded sometimes because they think the seventh grade basketball player on the B team is going to be the next Michael Jordan, and they can't even get off a B team. All right. But the expectation that they have is about them playing sports. It's not about them doing what they're supposed to do in the classroom. You know, because as a parent, my son, he also played, uh, it was called Taifa at the time, but he also played Taifa football. If he wasn't passing a grade check, he wasn't playing Taifa.
mm,
And the coach was 98 hot at me at the fact that he had a game on Saturday and I got the progress report on Friday, and Saturday he didn't show up.
Mhm.
Okay, I'm gonna need you to talk to your player about what he needs to do in
Mhm.
order to make sure that he gets to show up with y'all. Okay? Because if he don't do his job in the classroom, he not gonna do no job on the field.
yep.
Gotcha.
And that's as
Accountable.
a parent.
Right.
Yep.
I think Phil was going to say something on SPED also, but before you say that, comment on that, Brandon, I'm glad you broke that down because I was going to address that about about them failing and keeping your paperwork in order and so forth and so on. And so you addressed that for me. So I scratched that off my list because I was going to comment on that. But Phil, you was going to say something?
No, she basically said everything. What SPED is, and it just because a student is SPED doesn't mean that they can't fail. But um, we do give them extra. We give them extra love in the classroom because they we know they need it, and if they, they have certain learning disabilities, because even me as a music teacher, I go into the classrooms and I sit with them when I on my conference period, or if I have a break in my schedule, I'll go into those students that I know are struggling, and I'll sit with them and I'll help them with their whatever their lesson is that they're working on at the time, if it's something that the teacher will allow me to, of course with teacher permission. I just don't barge into the room. But if I ask them, is it okay if I sit with them while they read, or can they read to me? And the teacher is like, yes, please, because they're struggling. I'm working with them on this. Can you help them with that? And so I see them in a different light when I see your behavior in classroom and I see you struggling, and it's like, I now can make the correlation why you're so upset, why you don't want to read. If I give you a small something to read in my classroom, why you're struggling with that. So, we just give them an extra love, and we just have to give them more support, and we do our very best to make sure that every kid is successful, whether they're SPED or not. But the SPED students, they have been identified, and then we know those students that aren't identified, that we know need to be identified. And we have to give them, even then we still give them the same thing. We still have to say, okay, even though I know I don't have the certain paperwork on you, you're gonna work on this today.
Right,
So
right. Okay.
we it is a delicate it is a delicate situation dealing with students that are struggling academically, that still want to be on the in crowd, that still want to be athletes, that still want to, that are, have bad home lives. And we see it all. And do we need more pay? Absolutely. But even if it doesn't come, guess what? Bright and early Monday morning, we still going to be in there.
Yeah, yeah, I already know it.
We
And
gonna
I'm gonna just thank our viewers for watching the comments. Y'all, you see me sharing them on the screen if you can. And Coach Lee and Rice and some of the other guys on there right now showing about like 8 people watching. I don't know how many's watching it from Facebook or whatever, but thank you guys for your comments and everything. And Bill, you just touched on something that I had to scratch off that I was about to address, and you addressed that. So I mean, y'all are putting out some very important info that I didn't even know myself, because even though I've been out of school a couple of days, I still just lost a little track along the way up in there somewhere. Don't be laughing at me, Brandy, y'all. So, but before I move on to another question or talking point, y'all, anybody else have anything on that?
I do for the same thing that Brandy said. When my kids were in elementary school and, they were playing for Little League or whatever, I did the same thing. If you get in trouble in school, whether it was misbehaving or not doing your work, I wouldn't let my child play. And the coach was okay. He didn't have a choice really, but I did work with the coach on that because I started mine early because I knew how much he loved sports. And I knew that, like for some kids, you could take away the video game and things like that. And for mine, it was sports and he loved sports. So that I started that early before he even got to high school or college. So he had to behave as well as get his, do his work in order to play.
Right. Okay. Let me read this one question from Rice right here. I know y'all can probably see it. Maybe if unless you're watching it from your phone, then it'll show up kind of small. You say, how do you guys feel about what they're doing in places like Oregon where they are trying to remove grades? So I don't know. Or I guess they're trying to remove the students' grades. Y'all heard anything about that? I don't know.
yeah, I'm not familiar with that situation.
So that's not something, say that one of you teachers may do if a kid. I guess the principal. I mean, I don't know. Being out of school a couple of days is kind of losing track. But if the teacher, not the teacher, the principal come up and say, I need you to change that grade so that kid can pass, not the football coach, but maybe it's a sped kid, and I need that grade changed. Do you change that grade, or do you tell him or her if you want to change, you got to change it? I don't know. I'm just asking since that come to my mind.
Well, I'll chime in real quick on that. Again, not so much at the current school I'm at, but the previous school I was working at. We had a lot of sped population, high sped population actually. And so if a student does fail a course and they don't get that credit, you have to do a failure audit. And so their biggest thing was trying to prevent those failure audits from having to take place. So it would be a situation where even though grades were already due, they've already been submitted or what have you and documented, they did give them a grace period to where can a student at least come back and redo an assignment, or can they do some extra credit type deal? But as far as being asked to just outright change a grade, that even if I was asked that, just moral reasons, I wouldn't. I just wouldn't. That I would have to give that kid something that I knew was feasible for them to complete in order to actually earn those 2 to 3, 5 points, however many points they needed to get to a passing score. So
What's a fail order? I think you said a fail order. What is that?
a fail or ARD. So an
Oh.
ARD is basically the meeting that takes place for a SPED student, and that's where the accommodations and stuff are set up. And if they need any modifications or anything like that comes into play, but you have to revisit it if a student doesn't pass a certain course in a high school setting, at least. I don't know about other scenarios, but in the high school setting, a failure audit usually takes place. So for each course that's failed, actually, so it's not even like if a kid fails 4 classes, you have to have an individual audit for each course that kid failed.
So in our district, the teachers are responsible for their grade book. Okay. A principal can come to you and ask you, to change a grade, and you can, or you can't. If you have justification for that student receiving the grade that they received, then you can stand on that grade. If you don't have justification and you have not done your documentation and parent phone calls and things like that, the question is, do I really want to, as we say, die on this hill when I can't show proof that I've done my part in order to help this student along the way? You see what I'm saying? Did you ask the student to come to tutoring? Did you reach out to the parent and say, hey, your student is failing? Did you reach out to the coach and say, hey, this student is failing? If the student has a caseworker, hey, this student is failing. You see what I'm saying? There's a lot of people in play that you reach out to before you say, okay, little Johnny getting a 60, right? How you do that if all you're doing is taking his grades for face value? Like, ethically, can you say that you did your part as an educator to make sure or make sure that this student is understanding the material? What reason did you have to fail them? And some teachers, I'm not going to say a lot of them, but some educators take it personal. And because you didn't turn in your work, I'm going to fail you. No, that's not going to work out.
Right.
Okay. Because you have parents like me that's like, okay, I need you to show me proof. Right. I'm going to hold my kid accountable, but also I'm going to hold you accountable. What did you do? Did you ask him to go to tutoring? Because Miss Jones, you didn't call me. Because had you called me, the work would have been turned in the next day.
Right.
Again, parent-teacher relationship, you open up the door. And me, I hated to call parents. I used to tell my students all the time, don't make me have to call your parents, because that's going to make me angry, because I don't like to talk to adults. That's why I'm a teacher. I like to talk to kids. Okay? I don't like adults. I like kids. See?
All righty. Okay, then. Anybody else a comment on that? No. This is this wasn't in my notes or questions, but it just came to my mind, and that's how it is here on Wizzo Talk. We just roll with it and go off script, on strip, and on script, and y'all don't judge me because I'm talking country and ghetto neither. But so with all of the school shootings and all y'all in the education field, how safe do you feel? And I hear you. Some of them talking. We're talking with preschoolers, kindergartners, and so forth and so on. Is that something that you can or can't inform your kid or the kids? Hey, if you see something, if somebody packing this, or any kind of information you can give out to the kids to let them know. Hey, if you see somebody with a knife, a gun, or say something. But overall, I'm asking, how safe do y'all feel with all these school shootings going on in school?
I make friends with all the kids that wear trench coats. Okay, my bad. Okay, my bad. My bad. But I'm serious. If they look like they may go off the deep end one day, we friends. Okay. Come to my class, get a snack, come to the office, pull up a chair. Yeah, like
So are y'all allowed to address any type of issue like that at school or with the kids or anything to say, you know, I don't know. I'm just trying to see.
Well, at my school that I'm currently at, yeah, we again it's a residential treatment facility, so they're housed there. But these kids actually have escaped several times, and they go out into the community and they get their hands on all kinds of stuff. They've gotten their hands on drugs. They've gotten their hands on alcohol. Again, at a rehab. Long story for another day. But who's to say they wouldn't get a hold of something else? And so they always end up coming back, by the way. They always end up coming back. Whatever the case is, they're either being escorted back by the police officers or they come back on their own for whatever reason. And so at the facility, they're actually not allowed to have certain things. They're very restricted as to certain things. They can't have sharp items, of course, because again, we're dealing with a lot of mental health kids or what have you. So they can't have anything that reflects a weapon or anything of that nature. So again, I do wonder sometimes, well, with these kids being able to unfortunately freely leave this facility and then return, what if so as far as being afraid, I wouldn't necessarily say afraid, because I do feel well protected. I do come from juvenile corrections where I dealt with hardcore criminals initially. So I did 5.5 years with that back in Louisiana. So I kind of have a background dealing with actual criminal activity. So it's not necessarily a scare thing so much as it's just more of a concern, of course. And we are able to talk to the kids. We actually have drills that we do monthly. We do safety drills, and if something unfortunate happens like that, here's what we're going to end up having to do. So it is something that we do talk about. So
Okay. Anybody else on that?
I'm not afraid, and I don't teach my kids to be afraid because you can only control what you can control. And like she stated, there is protocol at the schools in case something like that happens. But you can also talk to your kids at home so that they are able to or prepared to handle the situation should it arise. But you can't be afraid unless you're going to keep them in the house. You can't be afraid to send them if that's where, if they're going to school, they need to be, feel comfortable. And if they have any concerns, you can try to address those.
Okay. All right. Sounds good. Phil, you good? Nothing?
Yes, we have an armed guard at our school, elementary school. Our district is fortunate that they actually know how to budget. And when the state sent down that mandate that all schools should have a guard, we were one of the few districts that actually could comply with that request, even though they didn't give us money for it. So even before the guard got there, I wasn't afraid because I deal with elementary school, so they're a little less really less likely to like bring a weapon to school. If they bring it, it's like, look what I got. It's not I'm gonna hurt people. It's like they show it off. But just to say, my fear doesn't come from my students. It comes from people on the outside trying to get into the school. That's
Right.
what gives me concern. If I think of intruder, if I think of not being safe, that's what I think of. I don't think of my students. I think of someone trying to get into the school and just try to hurt us. But fortunately I'm in a pretty good spot where I'm at. We haven't had any incidents
That's good.
recently. Like we've had like a guy that tried to expose himself to the students and the teachers were out there. It was before school started. And so there weren't a lot of kids out there. And so, teachers get there early. So they got him and called the police before, our students got there. So it's
Okay.
stuff like that. It's people from the outside that I'm more concerned about, not my
Okay.
kiddos.
All right.
Yeah, and Paul, that was something that took place. The school district where I work, they employ uniform school marshals as well, and they carry. So we did follow that mandate as well, and we staffed out. We got extra staff to do that.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what,
Ours
if
comes
they,
from the district police department. That's where we get our guards from.
Okay.
okay. Well, I'll tell you this, if they would have asked me as a parent or someone to volunteer to, or not volunteer, to hire me on, and I'm at high school or whatever, I'm walking around with an AK-47 with a clip in, and I'm showing force. So I'm letting you know, you come up in here, it's gonna be some problem. But I mean, I don't want to walk around with a pistol when he or she coming in with a rifle.
Yeah.
I'm walking around, my neck gonna be like this by the end of the day because I'm gonna have that AK around my neck. But that's just me though. I'm just saying. I want to make sure it's a show of force. So, but let me switch gears. Chance, I know it's getting close to your dance time.
I'm good. I'm
Okay,
good.
and yeah, I'll just have a few more questions, and if anyone has to leave at any time, please let me know because I want to make sure you get some closing comments in before you take out. And
Okay.
once again, I'd like to thank all of our guests, that's viewers that's watching, and remember that it's free to like, share, and subscribe. I appreciate your support. So just to go back to the athletes in school, which I'm gonna say football because football is so high. Uh, I mean, do we think they need to be, and maybe they are. So I'm just kind of speaking in general, be held to a higher standard academic wise and behavior wise? Because I know, and I can't give away who I know that's at certain schools where some of the varsity players are really acting like crap. So I mean, should they, and this person that I know, they contacted the coach and let them know, but then this student is still kind of acting out. So should they be held to a higher standard academic wise and behavioral wise? And I think I might know your answer, but it's just some discussion I wanted to bring up.
So I think that they definitely should. Uh as an athlete, well, we'll just take, Texas UIL mandates that a student needs a 70, okay,
Okay.
in order for them to be able to play the sport or participate in UIL activities, right?
Okay.
And so with that, like, if you just hold the students to a 70, then to me that's the bare minimum. So in the programs that my sons were a part of, as my daughters as well, their coaches held them to an 80. They had to have an 80 in order to not have to participate in mandatory tutoring. They still had to go to tutoring, but they didn't have to go to mandatory tutoring. If you had anything lower than an 80, then you were required to participate in mandatory tutoring. You couldn't get any serious referrals. You couldn't have so many tardies or so many absences. You couldn't, there were so many you couldn'ts, right? But the you coulds balanced out as well. And I feel like that taught, the students responsibility. It taught the students ownership for their actions. So like for a coach to have a program like that, that says something. If coach just holds them to the, okay, you need a 70, then I'm questioning that program, because me as a parent, my expectation is that you make A's and B's. But mom, coach said I could play if I got a 70. That's not my expectation. So I win. My bad. you know? Um, so I mean I like the programs where they hold the kids to a higher standard. I want my kids to participate in programs that are held to a higher standard than just the bare minimum.
Okay. Anybody else comment?
The other thing is too is if you have two students, one is a star athlete or one plays on the football team, and then you have another student that doesn't play sports. The one that plays football, more people are going to know that student.
Mhm.
So a lot of times people will say, well, I wasn't trying to be someone that people looked up to. You don't have a choice. People, they know you, they look up to you. So if you hold them to a higher standard, then that gives, people something to look forward to, especially if they want to play sports or they're trying to be like this person because they automatically know them because they do play sports.
Right.
And then if they can show that, hey, I can play sport and I can excel in academics and I can, behave, that shows a lot about that person. And being able to balance everyday things, or go above and beyond as well.
Right. Okay. I got you. Let me catch Miss Brandy before you have to get ready to do what you got to do. You're going to give out a closing comment.
Um, I gotta go, y'all. But I enjoyed this topic. Education is very important to me, as well as just educating the whole child, not just academically, but in behavior as well. Teaching them that they're about to go out into society and be all that they can be. So if you're not getting it at home, they should get it at the school. They should feel safe. They should feel supported, and all of our little kids, they just want to, our little babies, even the big ones, they just want to be heard. So even if you just come in as a mentor, find some way to share your gifts and your talents with the education system so that all of our students have the opportunity to be great in life. Thank you guys, I appreciate it.
Hold up, Brandy, before you go. Brandy, I'm gonna need to
Yes.
see you on the dance. I'm gonna need to see you on the dance floor because you need to be spent a couple of times, and I need to spin you a few times. So I'm gonna need to see you on the dance floor.
Ooh-wee. Okay. All right. It's been a minute.
I'm just saying.
Thank you, Brandy.
Love you,
Thank you.
Bye,
Now. I
lots.
Brandy.
Bye,
appreciate you,
guys.
Brandy. She always come
Bye.
on whenever I call. I appreciate it. So yeah, I just have like two more. And once again, I thank all of the viewers that's watching and posting comments. I appreciate it. Rice still hanging with us. He's been on the show a few times and some other people off in the comments. So but I want to ask because it just come to my mind also. Some of the school teachers are carrying weapons. So I just want to just get y'all input on that and what do you think about that? And then I have one more and then we can go around and get ready to close out. So how do y'all feel about that?
I personally, I would not want to be one of those people that's doing it because that bears a whole nother level of responsibility. I do think that it's unfortunate that we've gotten to that point in society, in day and age where that is unfortunately necessary for some circumstances in some environments. But me personally, I don't necessarily agree with it or disagree. It's just, in my opinion, very unfortunate. That's my, it's unfortunate. So yeah.
Okay, all right. Chaz,
I don't agree with the educators carrying. I do understand why they would want to, but I also feel like anything can happen while they're carrying, a child or someone else could get access to it or take it, and then who otherwise would not have had access to it.
right. Okay.
So.
Phil,
I agree with the other ladies. I think it's unfortunate. It's not something that I would volunteer for. Um, that's why we have armed guards. That's their job, to carry a weapon. My job is to educate. It's not to be um, on the SWAT team or nothing. Let me teach my babies.
Right.
Let somebody else carry the gun.
Yes, exactly. And just to kind of get on that, it reminds me of the teacher that how you say anything can happen. The teacher that lost her eye, from the what if she'd have had her gun on her side or in her purse or whatever, and that kid then already didn't hit her in the eye, she done lost her eye, and then now he got a hold to that gun or to that weapon or whatever. And now, you got a whole bunch of other things going on like that. So okay. Last comment on that. So uh my last thing that I have for you ladies is if a high school student, and I'm gonna say not a member of the SPED, because actually I had never heard of that and didn't know anything about that, being out just a couple of days of school. Uh, graduates high school, graduates high school, but can't read a lick. I mean, is that a kid that was probably just pushed through? Or, I mean, what do y'all feel about that? How do you feel about that, if anything, or if you like to comment on that? Because I know that it has happened, and I know it's why I'm asking that question, because I know kids that's been graduated. I mean, I'm talking barely read. I won't say not completely, but just can't read at all. Did the system fail them? Did the parents fail them? Or did they just not put forward? Just to get y'all opinion on that.
Well, unfortunately, from my experiences, again, I work with mostly at youth, at risk youth. I'm sorry, and so a lot of my students are coming from situations whereas they are very limited to what their knowledge skills are. They're barely reading at a second or third grade level, and they're in a 10th grade. The handwriting, oh my God, it's like what is this I'm reading right now? Again, high schoolers, and their handwriting looks like that of a 2-year-old, and it's just very unfortunate. It's so many layers to it. You don't really know where to begin to say, well, this is where it happened at. But apparently, and I always tell my colleagues, a lot of our students have been pushed through the system, clearly. And then when they come to us, by the time they're in at the high school level, it's kind of like, oh my gosh, we literally have to go back to scratch. We have to start from point A with this kid, because now we have to literally go back to the basics with a 15 or 16-year-old. And it's very difficult to do when it's just the teachers trying to do it. So a lot of it does fall back on what's going on at the household, because there's no way a parent can tell any teacher that I didn't know that my child was unable to read at their grade level or reach whatever set skills that they're supposed to be at that age. So it goes hand in hand, but it's very challenging. Let me just say that when you get to the high school level and you have to undo what's
Right.
already been done, and then not even reteach, but just actually teach certain things that you should be learning in first, second, and third grade. So,
Okay. Right. Anybody else on that topic? Nope.
They were definitely pushed through. That goes without saying. Um, a huge disservice to that child to be in high school and can't read.
Mhm.
However, how much school did they miss?
yeah,
Did they ditch school?
Yeah.
Were they pulled out of school because they had to move around a lot? There are so many different factors. There's a million reasons why that kid probably didn't read.
Right.
So you can't put the blame all on one thing.
yep,
Mhm.
But someone in the school system should have raised the red
oh,
flags.
yep,
One teacher out of
yep,
10 years
Yeah.
yep,
of being in school, one teacher should have put in a red flag somewhere along the lines that said, hey, this kid needs help. Not saying that it didn't happen, but I mean, if nobody else is going to help and they're just going to push him along,
yep.
you know,
Right.
but God bless that student, and I hope they do learn how to read.
Exactly. Okay. Miss Chaz, you have anything on that?
Um, Pretty much what everybody else said, I guess. It happens. People do pass the kids because they don't want it to be a reflection of them. Or they don't want their, percent scores, rates, to be lowered, or some of them just don't care.
Yeah.
Um, it's just a job for them. But it happens. It is unfortunate, and sometimes all it takes, like you said, within 10 years, one teacher, one coach, just somebody in that person's life to try to help out.
Okay. All righty. Well, since I have you on my big screen and there's nothing further, won't you give out any closing comments so we can get ready to get up out of here? Should we bow our heads or anything?
No.
Okay.
Education is very important to me. I'm educated. I work in education. I started in adult education and now I work in K through 12 setting. And I do see it. I've been a trainer, not a teacher, but I do see it from the hiring and also employee relations and grievances and things like that. I don't get to visit the campus as much, but and like I said, I have sons that have played sports, so I know from both sides, and I do understand why the money is put in. And I'll admit, sports paid for a college degree, so my oldest did not have to get student loans. So I also feel that sports are important, as well as education. Education is always first, but sports can be the reason why someone excels in academics, because you have to, be able to make the grade to be able to play. Also, when the kids are smaller, I feel like sometimes sports may be an outlet that they otherwise don't have. So I do feel like education is very important, because you need that no matter what. When you play sports, at any time you can have an injury that ends that for you. Education is forever.
Got you covered on that. Appreciate that. Coming to the stage.
Okay, so for me, so a little bit about my initial background. I attended Xavier University in New Orleans. I went to school for biology pre-med. My intention was to become a pediatrician. So, going from wanting to become a doctor to an educator, big old huge difference, right?
Yeah.
But I always knew I wanted to work with young people. I always wanted to work with kids, and so eventually I did end up switching my major to education. And ultimately, my degree ended up being in sociology and elementary ed. So it took a minute for me to actually get to the actual teaching component of it. As I stated, I have a background in juvenile justice. So that's primarily where I started off at. I also have a background in management. But once I did relocate to Texas, that was the first job that was offered to me, was a teaching position. And I've been doing it ever since. And I don't think that I'll be turning back. So, I mean, I could be making that those six figures we talked about as a doctor right now, but I think
Right.
about it often. I do.
Right. Well,
Nothing can compare to what I experienced being a teacher, because when you do see the positive outcomes of things and you do get those kids to that finish line, I mean, there's no feeling like that at all. It's a wonderful thing when you do get those positive stories to come out of it. So
all right. That's what's up. So let me ask you this: since you come from New Orleans, and so now you're up by here in Texas, so that means you're a cowboy.
we ain't going that far yet. Going that far yet. Look, I'm gonna be a bandwagon at some point, but nah, I'm still rocking the all day. So I love Texas, though. I really do. I really do.
Right. Okay. All right. Well, you right up in that area. So, but I guess we gonna let it slide, then. Come on, Miss Phil.
Can I be in your
Um,
class? I want you to be my teacher.
I've been teaching music. This is my 18th year teaching elementary music. I got into fitness about 5 years ago, and so now I'm thinking that I might want to switch to teaching PE, since I still got some time to keep on teaching, because we got to be teaching for 40 years before we get
Mhm.
a good size pension.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking that I want to do something different and be able to help students understand how physical fitness is important, and not just sitting on the iPad or iPhone and all that, and get them moving. And so it's gonna help me definitely. I love teaching. um, Period. My dad, I had some aunts, my older brother, and his wife, they're all educators. I come from a family of educators and from a family that values education. And so I love what I do, and I can't imagine doing anything else. Even if I got out of teaching in the classroom and go into fitness, I still would be teaching people how to take care of their bodies, their minds, and what to put in their bodies, and I have always had a love of helping people know things. And so I'm here to stay. I'm going to be in the classroom one way or another, either teaching music, PE, fitness, whatever. My goal is just to help educate. So I really enjoyed this time meeting you ladies. I hope this will not be our last time. Thank you, Wizzo, for doing this for us. I truly appreciate it. This is my third podcast with you.
I believe so. I was just about to say, because I've
Yeah.
interviewed Phil once one-on-one when we talked about her bodybuilding, and I've seen her. I used to, well, I still do follow her, and when I've seen some of the workouts that she be doing, and I'd be like, I don't know if I want my kid every day with the PE with her, or she be breaking them down. I don't want to do some of that. But she had a big major accomplishment. What, 4 gold medals or something like that, Phil?
Awesome.
Oh, five first place medals at the Ronnie Coleman 2021 competition here in Houston. So yeah, it was a little while ago, but I plan on getting back on stage. So
Yeah, she was doing it on up, and I interviewed her back then, and we talked from teacher to bodybuilder to and with the medal. So y'all get a chance, go back and check that interview out. It was pretty nice, and I was just going to say with Brandy, I've had it. I've danced in all of y'all graduations because we swing dance, and I think I've danced in Brandy's graduation also. So I don't know if I'll make it clean or not tonight because I'm here in Temple. But anyway, that's another story, ladies. I want to thank y'all, and I appreciate all the input that you've given out to us. And I mean, I've learned a great deal myself. So I appreciate y'all and answering the call. And everybody was on time to the podcast too. Oh my goodness. Thank you, Lord. When I'm sitting here and I'm waiting on people to come in, I hear the little thing go through. I'm like, oh Lord, somebody, okay, good. So, but with that being said, I appreciate y'all. Just remind the viewers, whether you're watching it now, you're watching it later, it's free to like, share, and subscribe. I appreciate your support. I am Paul Wizzo. We're going to say holla at your boy.